So you published your first book or two and you've made a little bit of money from your writing, but how do you take it to the next level? Maybe you've made your first $100 from writing. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to take it to the next level and teach you how to make your first $1,000 as an entrepreneur. What's up, guys? Michael Laurent here from Author Level Up, helping you write world-class stories better and faster. And I create these writing videos because I believe that each of you has Stephen King level talent and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications every time I have a new writing video. And in this writing video, we're talking about how to make your first $1,000 as a writer and as an authorpreneur. So it can be daunting to make $1, let alone $1,000 online. I don't know if anyone's like me. It just seems crazy that you can make money online, but it absolutely is true if you've got the right mindset. Now, if you haven't seen my video on how to make your first $100 as a writer, you maybe want to watch that one first because that's got some basic tips. So check that out in the YouTube card above my head or in the video description before you watch this one. But the stuff we're going to be talking about today is next level stuff, right? So you've got to really be firing on all cylinders. I mean, most of you watching this, you probably already published a book, and many of you may not make much money from that book, and so it helps with the techniques in this video if you've got a couple of books under your belt. First things first, time is money. So if I wanted to scale my income and I wanted to make more money as a writer, the first thing that I would do, and it's the first thing that I did in my career, is invest in better tools and invest in understanding your processes and how you work so that you can create better books faster. That is so fundamental, right? I mean, because you've written that first book or that first two books, and maybe you did a really good job, but maybe there were areas that you could improve in. You're going to start finding that the more books you create, the more money you can make. And so it actually pays to make sure that you're using good tools and good processes. So that means a good writing app that will help you get out of your own way instead of spending time figuring out how to fix tabs or paragraphs or things like that. And then good apps that are going to allow you to, or good apps and services that are going to allow you to publish your book faster. I think that's incredibly important. So to give you an example, my first novel took me almost 18 months to write. My second novel took me 8 months. And then my third novel took me like 3 months. So you just keep improving your processes so that you can write better novels faster. Now, I'm not telling you to write sloppy, but write better novels faster. And the next thing really is just keeping books in the pipeline, right? So just keep writing books on a regular basis. Now, I'm not telling you to write a book a month, every month for a year. I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm telling you to write at the pace that you're most comfortable. If that's one book a year, then that's one book a year. If it's 5 books a year, then it's 5 books a year. Just write based on your circumstances. You don't want to burn out, so write what's comfortable for you, but keep those books in the pipeline. And if you write in the same genre, that's going to help you start to snowball your writing. Now, if you write in multiple genres, you're going to have a harder time with this because you're going to have to write more books in order to diversify your income. And you're going to have to build your audience effectively again with each new book that you write. It's one of the things that I did early on in my career. But I know a lot of you watching this are multi-genre writers. Just know it can be done. Just know it's going to be a lot harder for you. So a common question I get is, well, Michael, I've written 2 or 3 books and they're in a series, but how do I know when to abandon them? How do I know when to stop? And my answer to that is if you've tweaked your ads, if you're running ads at your book and you've tweaked your book description and you still can't seem to get any traction for it and it's past 90 days, when the Amazon algorithms are no longer going to promote your book as much, then it probably would behoove you to move to a different series. What I would do is just kind of wrap it up and then move on to something different. But you could also be persistent. There are authors who have stories that don't take off until book 4, 5, 6 in a series. So it's really just your call, and you just have to use your gut. So another thing you can do to grow your income early on as a writer is you could do freelancing, or you could develop a special skill that people are willing to pay you for. So, for example, you could figure out how to edit audio, or you could learn how to write blog articles for people. That's probably not the best example, but or you could learn how to write ad copy for people that are, small businesses that are trying to promote their services. It doesn't matter what it is, but do something that you enjoy and develop some skill that people are willing to pay you for, so you can rely on that to help you make some early money early on, if that's to fund your books or to do other things. Like for me, for example, public speaking is something that I have a pretty good skill at, and so I've made thousands of dollars speaking at events, talking about writing or talking about my own experience. So that's another option that's available to you as well. But if you're going to do the public speaking route, then you've got to have some credibility. So I know a lot of my nonfiction writers watching this would be interested in that. All right, so the next thing I would do is I would do Amazon and Facebook ads at scale. So if you followed the tips in my last video, you played around with Amazon ads a little bit, you maybe got them to the point where they're getting a lot of impressions and getting you a decent amount of clicks, I would see if I could scale that. So I would put ads on all of my books, or put ads on the big showrunners, and I would do what I could to promote those. So I think that's just a good tip. I think when you write your first book, you play around with ads a little conservatively, because if you've only got one book, then people are less likely to buy it. But if you've got 3 or 4 books, or 2 or 3 books, and they're all in the same series, then I think you've got an interesting opportunity to experiment with ads and figure out if maybe an ad on book 2 will help you sell book 1. These are sorts of things that you don't know until you start experimenting. The next thing I would do is I would monetize my platform. So in the last video, I talked about how it's important to pick a medium, whether it be blogging, podcasting, video, a social media channel, whatever that is. Just pick one of those things and go all in and be consistent. And so I talked about that. But now, if you've written 2 to 3 books, maybe 1 book, and you're wanting to scale your income, you've developed that minimum level of credibility, right? You've published a book, you've published 2 or 3 books. You can start to monetize that. So you can start to sell your book a little bit more in your blog posts, right? You can do what I do on these videos, where, hey, this blog post was sponsored by my book, blah, blah, blah. You insert some ad copy here, grab your copy today. Nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that, and doing that on your own channels. Just make sure you don't spam people with the stuff. But you've got some credibility, especially if you're writing nonfiction, to where you can start using that and making sure that people are aware of your book, and just talking about it a little bit more in a peaceful, and not peaceful, but respectful way, a tasteful way, so that people know that your book is out there and they'll buy it. So the next thing I would do is I would reinvest in my email list. So in the last video, I talked about how it's very important to have an email list. I think everybody understands that now. That wasn't the case 5-6 years ago, but I think everybody understands the importance of email lists, right? But I think now, if you've written 2 to 3 books and you're wanting to scale your income, the mailing list opt-in offer that you have at 2 to 3 books, I think should look different than what you had at 0 books. So if you have nothing and you're just starting off, a lot of people don't offer anything for people to join their mailing list, right? Or they might offer a short story. But readers really don't join mailing lists for short stories. That's my personal experience. I've done that in the past when I first started off, and I found that almost no one joined. But when I had 2 to 3 books, I found that I could afford to give one away, so that if someone read book 1 in my series, I gave them a prequel or a novella, or I gave them book 1 in another series for free. I found that they were more likely to convert and join my mailing list. So what I would consider is figuring out if you can retweak that opt-in offer to make it more enticing for people to join your list, and then look at your autoresponder sequence again. Autoresponders are those emails that fire once someone joins your list. So introduce them to you, introduce them to your books, introduce them to what matters to you, right? And I'd have an autoresponder sequence for a few weeks. You don't want to go on too long. And then in that sequence, I would make sure that after the first 1 to 2 emails, that I would start selling other books that I've written, right? So, it might look like talking about something that happened in your life that inspired a book, and then at the bottom, hey, by the way, you can grab this book at XYZ, right? That's a great way to have autoresponders start working for you and start making you money, even if you're not actively selling your books. So autoresponders can be a great way to help you sell more books faster. So another thing that I would do is I would invest time and energy into diversifying your income. So I know I recommended Kindle Unlimited. If you're just starting off, you don't have any books, I think that's a great way to start. But long term, it's not the best way to proceed with your author career, because something could happen to Amazon or something could happen to your Amazon account overnight. And then what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your income? So I highly recommend checking out ebook distributors like Draft2Digital, Publish Drive, Smashwords. They can get your book into a lot of different retailers. And I recommend publishing direct on places like Kobo, if you can, Apple, Google Play, right? All these places where you can sell books where readers exist, right? Not everybody buys books on Amazon. Amazon is not the preeminent book retailer in every country in the world like it is in the United States. And so diversifying your income, I think, is pretty important. And then also diversifying across formats. So not just publishing your book in ebook. Also make sure you have some paperbacks. Make sure every book you write also has a paperback format, because not all readers read ebooks. Some readers still prefer paperbacks. So you want to have your book in both of those formats to suit their preferences. And then the question I know is going to come up about audio. Here's the thing about audio. Audio is expensive. It's expensive to do it right, and it's especially expensive if you do it wrong. So I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, I could do a royalty split on ACX, and that certainly is an option for you to do, but just remember, you've got to have a good narrator. If you don't have a good narrator, then your audiobook is not going to sell. So you want to make sure that you have a good narrator and that you understand the process of making an audiobook, because if you don't, then you're just going to invest a lot of time and money and energy into a product that isn't going to make you any additional money. But if it does make you additional money, like it has for me, audiobook can potentially make you thousands of dollars, if not more. Another thing I would do is I would establish a direct channel for readers to buy books from me personally. So for example, if you go to my website, michaelloran.com, not all of my books yet, but most of my books are available direct. So if you buy the book from me directly, then I help you get it onto your device. And the best part about that is you're supporting an author personally, right? But then also I take home a higher royalty. I mean, my royalties are like 93%, something like that, some crazy margin when people buy books from me, because I don't have to worry about Amazon or Apple or Google taking a cut. Right? So if you can diversify your income that way and get a certain percentage of people to buy books from you directly, that's a great way to also scale your income. So those tips, combined with the tips that I gave you in the previous video of how to make your first $100, are how you can make your first $1,000. And guys, it took me a couple years before I made my first $1,000. I mean, I've written 50 plus books at this point, and it took a long time before I was making any kind of meaningful money, but before I could even afford a coffee from my writing. And that's the truth. And for many of you, that's just the reality, and you just have to lean into it. Just keep getting better at your craft. Just keep committing to getting better at marketing. Be consistent. Don't check out. Don't burn out because your book's not making any money. It just takes a process of time. And I know that you can do it, and you just have to persevere, and you just have to commit to being diligent and continuing to improve. And I think that you'll wake up one morning like I have and realize, oh crap, I'm actually making some money at this, right? So that's all for this video, but I did want to let you know that this video is sponsored by my Write to Market course. So watch over my shoulder as I write a book to market, as I develop it and plan it and figure out how to market it to readers, all without selling my soul. So if you want an insight into my processes and how I work and some of the things that I've done over the years to attract readers and write better fiction, then this is the next course that you need to buy. It's affordably priced, and you can grab it by clicking the YouTube card above my head or the link in the video description. So that's it for today, and I'll talk to you next week.
Perfect.